uh, the chairs towards the end of the sufuf. Please continue to do that. I do see one or two here and there, but I'm just, these are probably visitors who haven't heard the news yet. So if you are, inshallah, coming regularly and you are using the chair for salah, please move to the right or the left corner of both the sides of the masjid to put your chair, inshallah. You will get the reward for doing so. As we have a question that we address before reading for the Shama'il of Shama'il Muhammadiyah, today's question is about the ruling of a person who breaks his wudu while praying his salah behind the imam. Remember, when you break your wudu while you're praying your salah individually, this has different ruling. And when you're praying behind the imam and you break your wudu in salah, this has different rulings. So today we're going to be specifically targeting on the fact that you're praying behind the imam and you broke your wudu, what you should do. Now this has two categories. The first is you're a normal person with a normal, healthy, lifestyle where the wudu breaks naturally, or you are ma'dhur, and ma'dhur is a person who is exempt from this rule. So this is for a normal person who is not a ma'dhur, who is not a person who has been excused for some reason that he is not able to maintain his wudu, and there is a different ruling and a whole set of rules for them. So we're not discussing that. We're only discussing a normal situation for a normal person who breaks his wudu in salah after he has joined with the imam. And the terminology of this individual in the books of fuqaha is written as lahiq. Lahiq is a person who started his salah with the imam, but then came a situation where he broke his wudu. Now what is he supposed to do? This ruling is different from a person who is masbuq. Masbuq is a latecomer, where we have, after the imam finishes salah, we have, mashallah, a whole line, people standing up. These are all masbuq. These are all latecomers, right? So latecomers have different rule, and lahiq has different rule. So this is the ruling of a lahiq. This person came in the beginning of prayer with wudu, started his salah with wudu, with the imam, and now in the middle of salah, he broke his wudu. Now what is he supposed to do? A lot of people just stand there because they feel embarrassed. If I go to make wudu, people can say this person passed gas. No. Sharia has given us laws for people, and it can happen to anybody. So there is nothing to be shy about. The first thing that the Prophet ﷺ said, that anyone who breaks wudu while praying behind the imam in his salah or in her salah, and now they need to go and make wudu, they should immediately put their hand on top of their nose and walk out. At this point, you are even allowed to walk in front of the person who is praying. Right? So let's say you are in the middle of this saf, and now you need to walk all the way to the corner to go and make your wudu. You're allowed to walk right in front of the people who are praying, keeping your hand on the nose. And why do you do that? Because the udhr can be many. You passed gas, you felt that there were drops of urine that dropped, right? Anything can be an udhr that breaks your wudu, but in every situation, you just put your hand on your nose. The reason why you put your hand on your nose is a resemblance, because as if you're bleeding from your nose and now you need to go and make wudu. Whatever the situation may be, you just put your hand on your nose and then you just walk. And now, there are two situations that you're going to encounter when you do walk. If you want to continue with the imam, then you have to make sure that you don't talk to anybody while you're going to make wudu. You don't even say salam. You just walk, go to the nearest faucet available, make wudu, come back and join. If you talk to someone, you used the bathroom, or you went to the further faucet instead of the closer faucet available, then you cannot continue. Now your salah is broken. You have to do a restart of your salah. The rule is you cannot do any other activity except that is needed for you to go and make wudu. So you will put your hand on your nose, walk out, go to the nearest faucet available, make wudu, come back and join. So let's say in this situation, we'll put a scenario together. You started with the Imam, you prayed 2 rak'ah, and in at-tahiyyat of the Isha Salah, after praying 2 rak'ah, you're sitting down and your wudu broke. Now you immediately got up, you went outside, you went to the nearest faucet, you made wudu, you didn't talk to anybody, you didn't reply to anyone's salam, and after making wudu, you came back and the Imam is in the 4th rak'ah. At this point, you will join the Imam, and when Imam will finish his salah, you will get up and pray only 1 rak'ah because the first 2 will count. And let's say if you joined the Imam before he went to the ruku or while he was in the ruku for the 3rd rak'ah, so let's say you broke your wudu in at-tahiyyat, you quickly got up, you went make wudu, and Imam got up to the 3rd rak'ah and now he's in ruku, and you come and join the Imam in ruku. Now you don't have to make up for any rak'ah because you got all the 4 rak'ah, 2 before your wudu broke, and now after that you got into the 3rd rak'ah while the Imam was in ruku, so that rak'ah will count and you continue with the 4th rak'ah and finish. But if you have done anything in the middle, then you'll have to repeat the whole salah again, meaning the first 2 will also be deleted, and now you have to start the salah again. Or the fuqaha do mention this, that if there is a difficulty in doing so, let's say you made a very lengthy delay, or the wudu area is far away from where you're praying salah and there is a long delay. In that situation, the better option is to repeat your salah, restart your salah rather than continuing where you left off, because the delay has become very long. So let's say you missed 2 rak'at by the time you made wudu and came back. At that time, it's best to start the salah again. Why? Because having to miss 2 rak'ah is a very long time, right? If you, let's say, made, your wudu broke, you went outside, and now you had the urge to use the bathroom. When you use the bathroom, your connection is cut off. So after you use the bathroom, you make wudu, you come back and you start the salah from the beginning. You will be as a masbuq and not a lahiq. So these are specific details. If you continue to pray your salah after you have broken your wudu, the rest of the salah is not going to count. You'll have to redo that salah. You cannot continue while the wudu is broken because you're a muhdith, and at that time, in the halatul hadath, you cannot pray your salah. You have to be in a stage of wudu to pray your full salah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us understanding. There is a QR code on the screen, so if you do have a follow-up question, you're welcome to submit it, inshallah, and we'll address it in the next week's session. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We are finishing off the 2 remaining narrations on the description of the izar of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We talked about the length, we talked about the description, we talked about how he wore the izar, and now emphasis on how to keep and maintain that location where the izar should be when a person is wearing, following the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه قال حدثنا سويد بن نصر قال حدثنا عبد الله بن المبارك عن موسى بن عبيدة عن إياس بن سلمة بن الأكوع عن أبيه قال كان عثمان بن عفان رضي الله عنه يأتزر إلى أنساف ساقيه وقال هكذا كانت إزرة صاحبي يعني النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Salma ibn Aqwa narrates from his father. Salma ibn Aqwa is a very young Sahabi and a very famous Sahabi. There is a very bravery story about him we find in his description that how brave he was that he was able to attack at the age of 13. At the age of 13, he was able to attack with his bow and arrow and kill almost 25 people who were trying to take the animals of zakat, or the animals that were kept in Baytul Mal of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A very brave, very skillful Sahabi. Salama ibn Aqwa narrates from his father, and his father said that Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu anhu would wear his izar at mid-shin level. And he would say that this is how the izar of my companion was, meaning the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Prophet alayhi salam used to wear his izar, the undergarment, up to mid-shin. وبه قال حدثنا قتيبة بن سعيد قال حدثنا أبو الأحوص عن أبي إسحاق عن مسلم بن نذير عن حذيفة بن اليمان رضي الله عنه قال أخذ رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بعضلة ساقي أو ساقه فقال هذا موضع الإزار فإن أبيت فأسفل فإن أبيت فلا حق للإزار في الكعبين. Hudhayfa bin Yaman, the secret keeper of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentions this narration that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam once took hold of my calf muscle or his own calf muscle. So now there is a shakkur rawi. Muhaddithin mention, Mullah Ali Qari has a discussion on this, saying that the shakkur rawi is not actually from Hudhayfa bin Yaman, but rather from Muslim ibn Nudayr, who has narrated from Hudhayfa bin Yaman. And there is a narration in Sunan Abi Dawood which does have the wording that it was my calf that the Prophet ﷺ hold. So Hudhayfa bin Yaman radiyallahu anhu, he says that the Prophet ﷺ he hold the muscles of my calf, and he said to me that this is where the izar should reach. If you do not wish to have it up to here, then let it roll down and make it up to your ankles. And if you want to keep it under the ankle, understand that there is no place of izar under the ankle. So based on this, the fuqaha have mentioned, number one, that if you are lowering your undergarment, your izar beneath your calf, beneath your ankles, which is ka'ab, beneath your ankle, and it is due to arrogance, then this is considered haram. Okay, that is agreed upon. Now let's go to the next level. The next level is that if you are putting your izar beneath your ankle, just because how the norm is, the fuqaha categorize this to be makruh tanzihi, right? Which is a lesser karahiyah than makruh tahrimi. Why? Because it's not due to batar. It is not due to arrogance. Because there are specific narrations which use the word batar. And batar means arrogance and kibr, and to have pride. So if you are not doing it, it's just because of that. Like there is a narration in Sahih Bukhari, Abu Bakr radiyallahu anhu said to the Prophet alayhi salam, فَإِنَّ إِزَارِي يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ يَتَأَذَّى, that my izar sometime accidentally goes underneath my ankle. How am I supposed to how am I supposed to deal with this situation? The Prophet ﷺ looked at Abu Bakr and smiled. He says, Anta lasta min ahli al-batar. You're not amongst the people of arrogance. Right? You're not amongst the people of arrogance. You are Siddiq. Right? So if a person doesn't have arrogance and it happens to be there, it happens to be there. It is permissible. There is no haram. There is no hurma. Now, coming to salah, right? And that's another level of explanation. That if you are praying your salah, having your lower garment covering your ankle, then according to the Hanafi school of thought, it is considered makruh. Right? It is considered to be disliked. Others have allowed it, right? Because of the same reason, that is not due to arrogance or pride. But Hanafi says whether pride or no pride, It has to be above your ankle when you're praying your salah. In normal situation, you can follow the rule of having pride or not having pride. But in salah, you should make sure that it's above the ankle. Otherwise, your salah will be considered as dislike. The other imams do not make it dislike. They say it is permissible. However, it is against the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, because we do understand from the narration that although Nabi alayhi salam allowed it for the trousers to be underneath mid-chin or mid-calf, but he himself always wore izar upon mid-calf. It is permissible to wear it up to your ankle, but he himself only had one practice, and he allowed it to be done for other people, but himself only followed that specific practice. And that's why in the previous narration, the Prophet ﷺ did mention, أَمَا لَكَ فِيَّ أُسْوَةٌ, don't you have any resemblance or any type of following in my characters? So, in conclusion, a person should try to keep it above ankle at all time, and this is for male only, not for female. A female should have it under the ankle, because there is a narration of Asma bint Umays radiallahu anha that she asked this to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she said, Ya Rasulullah, kayfa kanat izarun nisa? How would you explain that the lower garment or the izar of nisa should be? That the Prophet ﷺ said it should be covering their ankle, because the ankle is part of the awrah, right? A woman's awrah is her entire body, and the body is including the ankle. So the ankle should be covered for a woman at all times. This is part of the awrah. If the ankle is exposed for a woman in salah, then the salah will not be valid. The salah needs to be repeated again, and this is according to all fuqaha, because the description of the awrah of a woman is, according to everybody, is sa'irul badan, the entire body needs to be covered. But for the male, that the ankles should be exposed. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the understanding and the ability to practice. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen.